What is going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Diabetes Hustle Podcast. I am your host, Ali ABDUL-Kareem. Thanks so much for tuning in today. On today's episode, I interviewed Jiggy Yoon. Jiggy is an inspirational speaker and someone I met through Instagram and through another podcast called The Bravest Podcast. I'm a huge fan of The Bravest Podcast from Craig, and he interviews Jiggy. And from then, I started hearing Jiggy's story, and Jiggy went through a major depression, suicidal thoughts, and a huge burnout. A burnout I've never heard of before, to now overcoming those barriers, to helping other people with opening up. With her brand, it's called Vulnerability is Dope. And that's her message on today's episode. Knowing the importance of mental health and knowing how important it is to be vulnerable in today's world of being tough, and social medias don't show your best version, photos, videos, whatever. And Jiggy's very passionate about self-awareness in that sense of being vulnerable and also being self-aware of what you're good at. And me and Jiggy talk about, her diagnosis story. What was it like being homeless, her house burning down, her passing of her mother. Jiggy's had a lot of hardship, and I learned a lot from Jiggy's story. So I know you guys are going to benefit from this one. I'll see you guys soon.
Speaker. I don't know if I could call myself a motivational speaker. I'm just more like a however you want to take it speaker. And if I happen to motivate you, which is what usually happens, that's cool. And I'm a huge advocate for mental health awareness, and I'm just a big fan of compassionate people. I call myself a hype woman for the compassionate gangsters around the world. So that's what I'm about.
That's what's up. I was actually gonna ask you, do you like when people call you a motivational speaker, or do you prefer a performance coach? What do you think about that?
When I quit my full-time job to start this journey, I thought I was quitting to become a motivational speaker. So when people call me a motivational speaker, it just kind of is what it is. And if that's how they see me, then okay, that's cool, I guess. But it's just one of those things where nowadays anybody's a motivational speaker. Like, anybody can be a motivational speaker. They think they can just hold up a camera and just spit game and they're a motivational speaker. Like, anybody can be a rapper in high school. So it's not that I get offended or anything like that, but I think it doesn't, honestly, it doesn't matter what people say at the end of the day. It's me being true to myself and knowing what I know. And if they see me as a motivational speaker, dope. But I personally just kind of don't feel comfortable calling myself that.
Yeah. I was watching your YouTube channel today. It was my first time, and I was kind of looking through, and I saw this video where you were talking about having a relationship with yourself, and I really loved it. I could really relate. You were talking about, being with this girl and having mommy issues and being super vulnerable. And I felt like me and you, we really clicked on social media, because you know how it is, post a picture, put a cool caption, and basically the PR version of yourself on Instagram. And what you're trying to share, and I feel like Chris Rudin is doing the same thing essentially, is sharing what's really going on to make those little thingies, those problems we have, smaller and not making them bigger. So what is this whole vulnerability is dope, which I love? Explain to the people at home.
Well, vulnerability is dope just kind of derived out of just putting two things that I believe in so much. And vulnerability is definitely a topic that people like Brene Brown obviously brought a huge light onto. And so I call her a bad bitch, Brene Brown, because I think she's a bad bitch. But then she's the one who really brought the conversation to light, So I look up a lot to her. But then me being me, I would never be able to. I will be able to. The audience that I'm trying to reach is not the same kind of audience that somebody like Brene Brown would reach. Right. The thing is that I don't think people really notice that a lot of people that watch Brene Brown or Lewis Howes or TED Talks in general, they're very Caucasian majority.
Yeah.
And I'm too diverse for that. I'm not even I'm not even a US citizen. I'm from Korea, and I have this hip hop background where it's all about diversity, and I treasure diversity. So, as much as vulnerability is such an important topic to my heart, I wanted to bring the conversation to the audience that hasn't been reached yet. So then I was like, well, I have this hip hop background, so I say dope a lot. And one day I noticed that during my speeches I say like, vulnerability is dope, and I'm just like, that's cool. And then I wanted to make t-shirts. And I was like, what message do I really believe in? And what is a message that I truly connect with? And I was like, vulnerability is dope. And that's it. So put that on a shirt, and a lot more people liked it than I thought, honestly. And now it's like, I thought I was just gonna sell the shirts for a few months, but now it's been almost a year now, and so I'm really glad that people are connecting with the message.
Yeah, let's backtrack a little bit. Let's go a little bit farther back in time. What got you to really want to be a motivational speaker? Was there a career shift? Take us back to when you first were like, all right, I'm gonna do this performance coach thing. Like, what was that shift?
So then I'll take it further even back than that. So ever since I was a kid, I was never of the world. I was never of society. I was always unique. I was the black sheep of the family. As much as I was born and raised in Korea, I know that I'm not the best representative when it comes to our culture. So I've always known in my life that there's something different about me. And even with school, I was always forced into school, never really liked school. I was good at school because I had to be, but I never cared. And I went to this amazing university with so many incredible resources and never cared about career fairs, never believed in resumes. I never believed that a piece of paper can truly define my capabilities. A piece of paper can never do that. So I don't want to say that I was a rebel or anything like that. It's just being of the world was never aligned with my G code. So after I graduated from college, I did what everybody else did and got a full-time job. But again, that's very following the social guidelines. And I had this office job, and I loved the job. I loved everyone that I was working with as well, and a lot of my best friends are there now. But it's just, there was nothing wrong with the job itself. It's just that it just didn't feel right in my heart. I feel like I could have been using that time to do something more meaningful with my life. And what I truly believe in is sharing my story with others to help people. Because I always knew that I wanted to help people. I just never really was conscious of how. And I've noticed that I'm always trying to share my story. Like even with Facebook posts, I'm known for having a long ass Facebook post all the time. And I'm known for always being courageous and always being bold enough to just talk about anything. If you want to know about my mom passing away, I can talk about it. If you want to know about my diagnosis of type 1 diabetes or the day that I lost my home and became homeless, like I can talk about it. And I don't mind being the front line and sharing those kind of vulnerable stories. And I just never really fixed that. I just never really paid attention to it until I sat down and I was just like, I know I want to help people, but how? How do I want to help people? And I knew that I wanted to quit my job. So when I finally settled with the thought of me quitting my full-time job, I was just like looking for inspiration as to what I should do. And I'm a huge fan of Eric Thomas, so I was listening to his podcast all the time. And then I was like, damn, do I want to be a motivational speaker? I think I could do that. So that's how I quit my job, saying that I wanted to become a motivational speaker. And then a few months into it, I realized that speaking in front of people is just one part of a much bigger umbrella. And I realized that it's not just speaking that I want to focus on. It's not just speaking that I want to do. I want to do it all. So I want to be used as much as possible. I want to serve God and serve people as much as possible. So I'm just doing whatever it is that I can.
And you're a hustler, because if I'm not mistaken, you do everything on your own, right?
Yeah. But I mean, like honestly, like any entrepreneur at the beginning of their journey, like you have no choice; they have to. And I've always been self-reliant. At the end of the day, like, yo, once you've been homeless, you learn to be pretty fucking creative. Like you learn to really just make shit happen. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking at your latest post on Instagram. I'm like, yo, she's using every hashtag she can. She created the video with all the text in it, and I'm like, oh my god, this is crazy. Like, shit, your learning curve is just like that. You're doing it all on your own. So I really want to acknowledge you for that. That's like really. Hold on one second.
All right.
What we got right here? Pull it out.
Yeah, I love Eric Thomas.
We're both, I think we see eye to eye when it comes to like losses. Like you have battle scars like doop 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 that nobody can match up to. Can you just start off with like the I don't want to call them tragic, but things that have happened in your life that the people listening right now don't know? Like what's, talking about being homeless, your mother, and then just being not accepted in your culture. And I know what that's like because I'm an immigrant too.
Oh yeah. Well, I guess starting from my childhood, I was always the black sheep of the family, like I said, and I always knew that something was different about me from my culture, and I didn't know why until I came to America. And when I came to America, I didn't know English, so as I was learning English, I came across this word like gay, homosexual, and bisexual and lesbian. And that's when I learned that like that's an identity. That's the word that I identify with. And that's why I'm so different, because there's no, back in the day, there was no such thing as gay in Korea. Now there kind of is, but
Right.
Korea's very behind on that, honestly. But yeah, so that's what I identified with. And when I came out to my mother when I was 13 years old, it was the most, it took such a turn. My coming out story has took such a turn that I didn't expect from a traditional Korean Catholic mother. I tell her that I'm bisexual, and she's like, "Is that what you think about instead of studying?" And I thought it would go in the direction in terms of like, "Yo, you dishonor the family, like you're a shame to the family." But no, she was worried about my studies, and I'm like, "But I had 94 average. What are you talking about?" But yeah, it took that Asian ass turn. So that was that, and me being gay is something that we just don't really talk about in the family. Um, and then when I was 17 years old, my senior year of high school, I lived alone in the apartment for a little bit in Queens, and because my mother was supposed to move to Atlanta to accept a job as a nurse, and I found out that during that time when she was away, she actually got a heart attack. So she was spending that time getting surgery from the heart attack, and I didn't know that until she came back. And when she came back, I thought that that was my chance to finally start taking care of my mother. And because I had lived alone, I learned how to take care of myself. And I was like, I'm ready to take care of my mom. But then a few weeks later, my apartment building caught fire. It was a 5 alarm fire, which means that it took at least 5 fire trucks to try to take out. And it was this whole thing. We left for an hour, and I thought that life would just be regular and the same again. Go back to the apartment, and we find out that we're not allowed back in. And they were like, "No, you gotta come back later." And I was like, "Okay, like how long is later?" And they're like, "You're not gonna be able to live here for a while." And surely enough, that's the moment that I basically became homeless and jumped from homeless shelter to shelter. And then they put us in this motel, and then they moved us over to Brooklyn, and I'm from Queens, so the it's like 2 hours away from each other. Then the girl that I was talking to, like broke up with me and like just sucked. And then when college started right away, I still dealt with healing from that incident. And the freshman year was when I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. And then right after that, my mom was diagnosed with cancer. And then to my junior year is when she passed away.
Wow.
And then life has been just kind of like very independent and very solo since then.
Yeah. It's just so much to add, and like in the span of what is that, all in 1 year?
That's the thing, that like if this was to be sporadically spread out, like I don't, like maybe it would have been better, I don't know, but it all just happened at once. I feel like so it all happened when I was 17.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, but I first heard about you when the Bravest podcast with you and Craig, and I'm trying to remember what he was talking about. Essentially, when your house was set on fire and you were homeless, and then I remember what it was. It was you being a type 1 diabetic, and you had days where you didn't even know if you were gonna wake up. Like it was to that point, you know.
Oh yeah. So that was my sophomore year. I just, looking back, I spent the entire 4 years in college just healing, just constantly healing, because things kept happening back to back. Sophomore year was right after diabetes and my mom having cancer and things like that, and I just was not handling anything very well. So it came to a point where I would purposely go to bed high or purposely overtreat my blood sugar, attempting suicide a few times. Because I just look to having diabetes as like almost like a resource. So
yeah. I want to ask this: why vulnerability? Why is it important?
Vulnerability is important because it's the one thing that, well, amongst many things, it's the one biggest lie that society tells people. I honestly came to a realization that society wants people to self-destruct. And one of the things, the biggest lies, is that being emotional is being weak. And so vulnerability is truly empowerment. I think that vulnerability is truly strength. And not even just for the person expressing the vulnerability, but for the people present, people invited to be present in that experience, because it's so inspirational. Like people out here, especially with social media, live as like positivity, positive mindset, perfect filtered life, and putting that up on social media. Everybody just kind of like wears a mask in public because they don't want to seem weak, because being emotional and struggling and being human is so frowned upon by society, and no one can blame anybody because like it's just the way that we've been taught growing up. And so vulnerability is where the authenticity begins, and authenticity is important because I believe that each human being is so special. And I guess I say that because, you know how I said that I'm not of the world. I hate being of the world. I hate bandwagons. I hate trends. I hate not being myself. It just doesn't feel right to me. It's whack.
Right.
So it bothers me when I see other people being exactly the same. And I just don't think that when people follow trends and things like that, it honestly hurts me, because I wish that every single person could see how unique and special they are, because each person is so different, and there's something so special about each person that deserves to be celebrated. And if they were to embrace that, everybody would be courageous, everybody would be stronger, everybody could be inspirational, everybody could be a fucking motivational speaker. That's why I think that vulnerability, like self-awareness, there's no self-awareness with authenticity, and there's no inspiration, there's no motivation, there's no compassion, there's no love, there's no empathy, there's no everything wonderful about the world without vulnerability and authenticity.
Yeah, I feel like the way I take it is, if there's a problem and people don't share it, you make the problem bigger than what it actually is. Essentially, that's how I see it. So you're on a Medtronic, right?
Right now, yeah.
Okay, and then I was gonna show you this. And for the podcast,
Oh
the
my
people
god,
listening to the podcast,
horrible.
I'm showing Jiggy my Dexcom. So I think a lot of listeners are gonna benefit from this. What happened was this thingy, I had it on yesterday and it was peeling. So I was like, you know what? I'll put a new one. And
No,
I didn't take
it doesn't
Jiggy's
work
advice
like
because
that.
plug life. I was like, screw Jiggy, man. I do my own thing. So I took it off, and then the white was peeling off. So I was like, oh my god, it hasn't been a week. So I started cutting, and I put on this new one. So now this thingy is getting weird, and this thingy is jiggling. I don't know what to do. It's not that bad. Do you think I should just like wing it for like for another week?
Yeah, you're gonna have to keep that on as much as you can. You can't. The grip isn't meant to be taken on and off every couple of days. That's not how it works. It's supposed to stay on. So and the sensor itself, the purple part,
Yeah.
where you said that it's jiggling, it's
Yeah.
not that strong. It's gonna jiggle. Like that's inevitable. If you hit it somewhere and it rips a little bit, that's just what's gonna happen. It is what it is. There are things like grips where it goes over the sensor. I don't know if you've looked for those, but those exist as well. But what you're supposed to do is take a skin tack because the adhesive on the sensor, the white part, that's actually much stronger than a grip.
Wow.
Like if you take a shower, it's gonna stay on longer than the grip. You're on the second day and it's already ripping for you. But if you were to take a skin tack and wipe that on and then put the sensor on, it's gonna last at least definitely more than 2 fucking days for you.
Yeah.
And then once it starts coming off, then you can put on the grip to secure it a little more than a few more days.
I think what I'll do is I'll nod my head and then not listen to you. I'm kidding.
I mean, you can keep wasting grips and you can keep wasting money, or
It's
you can take advice from somebody who has had Dexcom for like 3-4 years.
I'm too cocky, Jiggy. I'm just kidding. It's like so much people.
Oh,
Rookie, at first day I was like, I can't sleep on my favorite side, so I kept sleeping this way. I'm like, I kept looking and checking at it. I'm like,
yeah.
okay, that was a side note. Sorry, guys. So, how long have you had the Medtronic 670G? Right?
Yeah, it's only been a month.
A month. How are you? What's it like having a pump like that?
I'm having such a weird time trying to get adjusted to having a tube because I used to have Omnipod.
Mm-hmm.
And what I like about this versus this is that when I have the Omnipod, I just feel like it's so large. It's so big. It's so like in your face. And even if I always had it on my leg, but I'm so active that I always felt it move. Like I always felt it jiggle. Like I always knew that it was there.
Yeah.
But honestly, that's like the only thing I didn't like about the Omnipod. I do miss it. And so this one, I like that there's not a huge bump on me, but the tube is, I'm so conscious of it. I'm so conscious of it whenever I'm walking around. I'm scared that it's going to get hooked on and just like rip out. My cat makes this really scary round eyes when she sees the tube because she wants to rip it out and chew on it and play with it. And then the pump itself, the screen is the interface, I think it's called, is not as pretty as a Dexcom.
Yeah.
I'm still getting, honestly, right now, I don't love it.
Yeah.
I'm trying to give it a chance. When it's good, it's really good. When it's bad, it's really bad. And it's like a toxic relationship, and we're going to like couples counseling and trying to work through it. And I'm trying to learn to have more patience with it, but I'm going to give it 2 more months. And if it doesn't work out, then I'm breaking up with it.
Oh, well, you got to do what you got to do. And hold on. In your defense, I think that whenever we switch to anything, like regardless, like if you're going from Omnipod to syringes, from syringes to Medtronic, anytime you switch, I feel like that's the hardest part of your diabetes. And I look at it historically in my life, like when I went from syringes to flex pens to Omnipod. Soon before I got on the Omnipod, I was like, oh, I'm so good at flex pens. And then you put this thing on me, I had the worst blood sugars ever.
Yeah.
That I think that just goes for a lot of people.
Yeah, like the transition period, I mean, I definitely knew that I had to be patient. Like, I mean, granted, this entire journey takes a lot of patience. And I knew that the pump will have to get used to learning about me. The pump itself has to learn me for at least a month. So that's cool, but like thinking long term, I don't know if I see myself having a pump like this for much longer, because I'm so active that I'm just really, really curious about just going back to syringes again. Because after the Omnipod, I took like a 3-4 month break and just back did syringes, and I did great. And I just missed the freedom almost.
Yeah.
So.
Right. Most of my listeners now, for however listeners I got, I love talking about diabetes burnout, and I feel like what you're doing really like emerges like perfectly. What would be your top 2 to 3 really important go-to tips for that one kid going through a burnout? What is that like? Here it is. Here's my best tips.
If you're going through a burnout, it's okay. You're going through a burnout. Just sit with it. I think that one of the worst advice for anyone experiencing any kind of pain and struggle in their lives, whether it's diabetic, burnout, or not, I think the most important thing is to acknowledge it and just like stare at it in the eyes first, and to acknowledge that, like, okay, I'm very present with this pain in my life right now. I'm acknowledging it. It exists. It's real. And I'm allowing myself to feel how I feel right now. At the end of the day, I believe that type 1 diabetic community is very empathetic and that they understand. And it's not, there's nothing you can do about a burnout. It's like, it is what it is. You just have to sit through it. There's no cure. There's no pill that makes it go away. You just have to be patient. And so it's all within time. So all you can do is just do your best. But that's not what you want to hear when you're having a burnout. You don't want to hear, oh, just do your best. Oh, just take care of it. Oh, you'll be fine. Like, no, when you're so annoyed, nothing that anyone ever says is gonna help. Yeah. And that's what's real about burnout. It's like, once you're acknowledging that you're burnt out, okay, you're burnt out.
Yeah.
Okay, it's a part of the process.
Yeah.
You're not the only one experiencing it. You're probably gonna experience it again and again for the rest of your life. Just allow yourself to experience it. It'll pass. Drink some water, have some insulin. The blood sugar will take care of itself, and it'll go down. It's tough. It sucks. It fucking sucks.
Yeah.
Okay. Just sit with it, stare at it, and then just get back up.
Yeah. I think that
I'm not gonna give no bullshit advice like everything happens for a reason. Everything happens for a reason. You're a warrior. Just keep fighting the good fight. Like, I know that when you're so annoyed at something, like, no advice is ever gonna help. Yeah. I'm not gonna do that unicorn shit. Like, nah, fuck it. Just sit with it. Yeah. Be human. It's okay.
Yeah. I'm with you, and I was listening to your video today, and you were like, you know what I hate is when people say it could be worse. You could have cancer. You could be dead. It's like,
my God,
I don't want to hear that.
What the fuck? For those of y'all who haven't watched the video yet, which you should, because it's popping, I think it's dope. I think it's really important. When I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, I had a friend who told me, bless his heart, he was trying to make me feel better, and he said, at least it's not cancer. And a month later, my mother was diagnosed with cancer. But yeah, I can't even believe it's like, I found out that that's not even just me though. Yeah. Like, I went to Bullets and Barbells, and plenty of people have told me that they've actually been told the same thing. And I was like, I can't even believe that this is real. Like, I just don't understand how people think that that's a good advice.
It doesn't help. And let's talk a little bit about your YouTube channel. So I was scrolling through it, and I was like, I really like this. Like, your storytelling actually takes me back to where you were younger in high school. You know, you had some hip hop beats in there, which I really love. And I was like, I want to see a video where it's telling me who you are, like your story, like, oh, I am Jiggy, blah, blah, blah. Are you thinking about doing, like, going more in on your YouTube channel and kind of like making more stories about yourself?
I think that if I'm going to be talking about a topic and okay, first of all, I would never talk about something that I haven't experienced myself. Therefore, I believe that I am my best example because I know my story best and I can't use somebody else's story. So in that way, I would be talking about myself. But in terms of dedicating an entire video to explain who I am and what I've been through, I already share my story so much through speaking, through videos, through interviews, through blogs and my social media posts that I right now I don't see it necessary to dedicate a video about myself when there's so many other things that more important that I believe I want to talk about and that I need to I need to share. If and like I think it's cool that there are opportunities where people want to do their projects on me anyway. So then I'll tell my story. But I don't want to talk about myself so much on my YouTube channel. I want to talk about things that I want to talk about, and it's not really about me.
Yeah, and we're pretty local. I really want to put it out there. Like, I really want to get together one day and just make content with you because
Hell yeah,
dope, like for real.
hell yeah.
Yeah. Let's get into a couple other things. I'm just running right now through my head the list of questions.
Get it all to me.
Give me a second. Let me think a little bit. Okay. Let me pull out my notes. 1 second.
Okay.
Okay, so in the podcast I heard with you, you said you want to be in a world where one day we don't need therapists. Explain. Hello?
What's that?
Did you hear me?
You're breaking up a little bit. What you say?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
So in a podcast I heard with you, you were talking about you want to live in a world where we don't need therapists. Explain.
Oh, yeah.
I like that.
First of all, there's absolutely nothing wrong with therapists. There's nothing wrong with that field. Nothing wrong with that career path. Nothing wrong with therapists themselves. Therapists, we need them. We need counselors. We need more people who listen. It's just that my notion of saying I want a world where we don't need them is more so me saying that if we were to express our vulnerability so much, if we were to be able to share our struggles and our pain, maybe even on social media so much, I look forward to a day when the comment section is filled with compassion, when the comment section is filled with empathy, where you're so easily accessible to those who have similar stories, where you can hit up a random stranger and talk about the struggles. And because I think that empathy is really one of the best medicine when it comes to emotional or mental pain, or even physical pain. Talking about it with somebody who understands it, even in a group where the entire group understands what you're going through. And I think that's why the type 1 diabetic community is so dope, because they're so empathetic. Everybody understands what you're going through. That's what's powerful. That's what's healing. Because if you recognize your pain from the root, and if somebody were to recognize that root, relate to that root, then you don't need pills. You don't have to pay anybody to have to listen to you. Why pay when you have a friend who can relate to you? When I look forward to a world that doesn't need therapists, not saying that I want therapists to like go out of business or anything like that. It's just that I believe in the power of empathy so much.
Yeah.
And one therapist can't possibly relate to every single client that comes through the door. So
right.
Yeah.
And I could so like think about that, because it's like, you know, when I'm going through something, I'm like, I mean, I can just tell my friend John. I don't have to pay somebody. I can open up, tell him, and then I make it feel like whatever thing I'm going through, you know, with burnout, you said number 1 tip was acknowledge yourself. And I say that like all the time. Whenever I'm going through a burnout, acknowledge it. You have no breaks. This disease really, really sucks. You're not a bad person. Number two, start opening up, share, you know, and then that makes me feel like 100 times better. I don't know what it is exactly, but your advice is golden.
Yeah, that's why, not even just about the person themselves from the inside out sharing the vulnerability, but that's why, like, with every single t-shirt I sell, I send a free sticker and it says free listening, and I write handwritten letters, and with each letter I say, like, yo, I challenge you to use this sticker, I challenge you to put it somewhere super visible that everybody who sees it knows that you're willing to listen to their struggle. Like, that's what free listening is. And so when it comes to, like, you sharing vulnerability, it's also about inviting others to express their vulnerability. And of course, you're not forcing them to, but it's just nice to know that the opportunity, the invitation is there. And so yeah.
Yeah. So Jiggy, current projects you're working on right now?
Current myself, my life. Business is never ending. I'm actually just bouncing back from a really bad tide of depression that I was struggling with in the month of March. Oh. So I'm just prioritizing my happiness first, but I've gained a lot of happiness and a lot of energy back through a lot of healing practices and things like that. So I'm just now bouncing back, and I'm constantly really trying to figure out, like, I'm still really trying to figure out what that bigger umbrella is that I mentioned earlier. Like, speaking is a part of this umbrella, but I don't know what this umbrella truly is. I think it's, at the end of the day, about helping people. And so now I'm just trying to be super creative and just trying to look for every single way that I can to serve people. So if that means that I gotta speak at whatever schools, I will. If I gotta make YouTube videos, I will. If I have to fucking rap about vulnerability, I fucking hell yeah will. And
what's the beat?
right now, I think I'm just trying to get myself out there more. Really trying to accept social media as a part of what I have to do and want to do. Like, I know I have to do it. I actually hate social media. Yeah, I have to do it, and I fought it for so long because I hate social media, but I have to enter a space where I want to do it because it as a play kind of audience hangs out at. Yeah. Like, when I make YouTube videos, I'm thinking about young Jiggy, where young Jiggy didn't know Brene Brown. Young Jiggy didn't fucking watch TED Talks. Young Jiggy didn't look up motivational videos. Young Jiggy looked up Eminem. Young Jiggy looked up funny YouTube videos that kind of talks about what I'm struggling with. So when I'm making my YouTube videos, that's why I don't give a fuck when people say, like, you curse too much in your videos. It's like, the fuck, that maybe you're not the audience that I'm going after. Maybe I'm trying to speak to high school students who can't go to sleep and they're staying up late because they have suicidal thoughts and they just want something to take off of their minds. Like, did you ever fucking think about that?
Yeah.
Shit.
Yeah. Just went out.
So, yeah, my current project is just me constantly evolving and learning, and trying to just serve as much as possible.
And you're opening up right now, like, you're eating your own dog food. The advice you're giving, you're sharing it with the Diabetes Hustle podcast. I appreciate that, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. A couple more questions before we end off. I want to say I actually didn't like Instagram when I first started. I was like, ugh, I gotta do this. It's a must. But then I found myself liking it more the more I put out more and more content. And the content you're putting out, it's great. You know, it's like super, it's your brand, it's vulnerability, and they love that. So I just want to push, like, keep encouraging you as much as you hate me, put out content. And I know you're gonna do that regardless, but you know, that's something I want to say. What is the legacy you want to leave behind? What is it that you want to put out?
That empathy is the shit and compassion is always the answer.
That's it.
That's it.
That's it. All right, Jiggy, thank you so much for coming on the show. I truly appreciate it. Listeners are going to love this episode. And I was thinking something through my head where if we did do this in real life, which I really want to do these podcasts in real life, it's like, I feel awkward when I'm on a screen. but in person, it's kind of like you get to know the other person. Where we can do a call-in show with the people on Instagram where they have questions about, you know, dealing with burnout, vulnerability, or who you are, and we do that live. I think that would be cool. What do you think about
that's dope. That's sick. You could just fucking get like my phone out, your phone out. We'll do Facebook Live, Instagram Live. I will get my camera right here with the dope ass microphone on top, and then we'll just record the whole thing and make a video out of it. That content. Do you like? There's a lot, so much we can do.
This is
in just one sitting. There's a lot we can do.
That's my camera.
Yeah. Yo, you gotta do what you gotta do, and you're putting out great stuff out there. It doesn't matter what it looks like. You're doing it. It doesn't matter. You'll get a DSLR later. Like, it doesn't matter. You're doing it, and that's all that matters.
Thank you, Jiggy. I appreciate it. Is there anything else you want to tell listeners before we close off?
Yo, vulnerability is so fucking dope, and don't listen to the hype, man. You gotta be authentic because you're so fucking dope. I can't stand this whole trend shit. Please celebrate your greatness. Don't be afraid to explore your greatness, whatever your purpose is. If you don't know what your purpose is, it doesn't matter. Quit your job and do everything. Do everything. And if you know what your purpose is, but you're not doing it, what the fuck are you doing? Get the fuck off your ass. Get off of this podcast. Go do it. There's a world to save. All right? People are, like, racism still exists. The Hold Your remix with Egyptian and Nicki Minaj is still not on Spotify. It's only available on YouTube. What else do I have a problem with? People still hating on Justin Bieber even though he got talent. Cardi B's pregnant with Offset. That there's so many things wrong with the world right now, man. All right?
Drama. Jiggy, ladies and gentlemen.
So you need to own up to your purpose. Take on the invitation from the universe. Say yes. Take responsibility for your purpose. You're the only one who can execute your purpose. For real. You have a calling in your heart. You gotta say yes. And when you're ready, you're about to explode. You're about to bloom. You're about to fucking manifest onto the world. That's how you fucking leave a legacy.
Yeah.
You're not gonna leave a legacy if you try to be like somebody else. And that's whack. That's just so whack. So
that's right. That's right.
Also, vulnerability is dope t-shirts. Go get them.
So we look fly. Because Jiggy looks fly in that. Jiggy, where can they find you?
Without stalking me, I'm in Cali now. You can find me on Instagram. I guess I'll promote Instagram. You can find me on Instagram at Jiggy_Yoon. I wish I had a custom YouTube channel because that's me, but I don't. So, but the link to my YouTube channel will be there. JiggyYoon.com. Website. I have a damn website and I pay.
You're cutting off. You said you have a website. What?
Website and I pay for it, so go there. It's JiggyYoon.com.
JiggyYoon.com. Ladies and gentlemen, Jiggy Yoon. Jiggy, thanks for coming on the show. I truly appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you so much for having me. This was awesome.
All right, Jiggy, I'm a press and record. Thank you again. Truly, I know your time is super valuable, so thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much. This was awesome.
Yeah, thanks, Jiggy. All right. Homie.
Yeah, let's explore ideas about that whole collab because that's a really fun idea. I really like it a lot.
I think when I think about it, it's like the Ask Gary Vee show. I don't know if you ever seen it, where like our community on Instagram is so tight. It's really cool, and I feel like if they ask you questions about burnout, your story, like they're gonna get crazy value, and I feel like I can just make the production or like get in the numbers, bring in more awareness, because like I'm not gonna sit there and answer the questions like but I think having you like next to me or on that show, that'd be perfect.
Yeah, that sounds really good. Are you going to the Taiwan Summit at La Jolla this Sunday?
When's that?
This Sunday in La Jolla.
This Sunday?
Yeah.
I didn't hear anything about that.
Apparently it's going down.
What time?
I might go. I don't know. It's all day. It's 8 to like 4, I think.
Oh,
it's on Facebook.
The one with I'm Greater Than sponsors? I can't.
No, theirs is in Anaheim. This one's in San Diego.
Okay, yeah, I've been meaning to do like one of these meetups, but I feel like with San Diego, there's not that much.
San Diego has a lot of type 1 diabetics.
Really? I don't really like.
Are you in any of the Facebook groups?
I'm in one now, the one with I forgot her name. She told me to join. I forgot it. She has a lot of tattoos.
Frenchie Gang?
Yeah, her.
Yeah, okay. I'm in that one too, yeah.
Yeah,
if you go to that group and then look at all the groups, the events created by the group, you'll see all the events.
I want to get out there because like I'm literally just here on my laptop, gym, and work, and that's it. Like such
What do you do for work?
I work at a recreational park part-time, and then I work with my mom at a retirement home. I just drop off old people, and then the rest of the time is gym and then content creation all day long.
Yeah, that's sick.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Okay.
Yeah, so we gotta get together and do these bars and have them go yelling on them.
Hell yeah!
Get jiggy with it.
Oh my god!
All right, Jiggy, thanks so much.
All right, no problem. Have a good night.
All right, you as well. We'll talk soon, okay?
For sure.
All right.
Bye.
Well, that was the episode, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed me getting to talk with Jiggy and kind of understanding her story and who she's about and what this brand Vulnerability is Dope is all about. So appreciate you guys watching. If you enjoyed the episode, please leave a review on iTunes. Let me know how I'm doing. Drop a comment in the YouTube section and say hi. That being said, we'll see you guys soon. Goodbye.